How's it going, everybody? Let's review that great day of college football we had yesterday. To start things off, we had Iowa State knocking off TCU 37-34. Tulane got things going in a good direction again as they took it to Southern Miss 66-24 over the Golden Eagles. Oklahoma State beat conference foe West Virginia 27-13. The Dogs got off to a SEC win over Arkansas 37-10. Although there are quarterback troubles between the edges. See, Virginia got a win over Duke 38-20. SMU looked great again over Stephen F. Austin 50-7. Texas A&M struggled in their week before they go toe to toe with Bama in Tuscaloosa. They get the win over Vandy though, 17-12. Baylor knocked off Kansas 47-14, and Virginia Tech beat NC State 47-24. And in Lane Kiffin's debut as Ole Miss coach, it was Kyle Trask and the Florida Gators who lit the Rebels up. Kyle Trask setting a Florida Gator offense with a record with over 600 yards of passing offense and I believe six touchdowns, six or seven touchdowns. Either way, incredible game by Florida quarterback Kyle Trask. The Gators get the win 51-35. But Ole Miss played them a lot better than I expected them to. I didn't think they would put up 35 points against the Gators. I wasn't surprised that Florida scored 51. I'm surprised in the fact of how they did it, with Trask being that successful, but really surprised at the Mississippi schools, especially as what we'll talk about in a little bit. But Lane Kiffin really had the Rebels ready to go, and just too much Trask in that Gator offense. Dan Mullen really got the Gators going, and Kyle Trask just, man, lighting them up in Gainesville. So we've got the Gators 51, Ole Miss 35. And I'd like to make a correction. That NC State score was 45-24. Virginia Tech 45-24 over NC State. I said 47. Excuse me on that. Also, Cincinnati covered the 13.5 over Army. Army recovered a fumble early in the game, went up 7-0, and Cincinnati dominated the rest of the way out, winning 24-10. Um, but the main thing that came away from that game is Army. One of the players headbutting an Army coach. Don't know what happened or what led up or what has happened after that. Still just very uncommon for players that are usually so well disciplined. Um, Something you don't see from a Army player. So definitely not the type of actions we are used to seeing from our service academy players. And then in Utah, BYU just continue to looking great as they destroy the Troy Trojans 48-7. Zach Wilson 23 for 27, 392 yards, two passing touchdowns. He also had two short rushing touchdowns, as he did have minus 9 yards rushing. But with those passing numbers, I think we can cut him some slack for getting sacked a couple of times. Let's see, Auburn. They would get the win at home over Ole Miss, 29-13. which was a real tight game going into the fourth quarter. Ole Miss, it was 15-13. Ole Miss had a chance to tie it. Auburn stopped the 2-point conversion and a couple of Bo Nix touchdown passes, and Auburn would pull away for the 29-13 victory. Kentucky quarterback Terry Wilson coming back would go 24 for 37, 239 yards. He would get one touchdown and one pick. Good to see him coming back after being injured last season. Bo Nix, 16 of 27, 233 yards and three touchdowns. So solid day for him. Looked like he was in control of the offense pretty much all day. Has come to what you expect from Bo Nix. Auburn, of course, the big game next week. You've got number 8 Auburn, number 4 Georgia. It's going to be a big one. So that's what we're going to be talking about all next week. All right, and next we go to Columbia, South Carolina, as the Vols start 1-0 as they get a win over the Gamecocks, 31-27. Tennessee had a nice little lead, and they let the Gamecocks get back into the game. And Carolina did what they had to do. They forced Tennessee to punt the ball, and just a heads-up play by Tennessee causing the Carolina player to bump into the ball, and Tennessee just more heads up. They pounce on the ball, recover it, and run the clock out. Just really bad luck for Carolina more than anything. You can't really fault the player because he's just going down. If anything, you hate to blame the returner. He's just trying to get out of the way, and the guy's just really trying to block. It's just bad luck on his part where the ball just happened to land. It was just more aware, the awareness of the Tennessee guy to see that and to capitalize on it. So I don't really think you can blame the South Carolina player as much as you just have to award the Tennessee player for being heads up and capitalizing on it. As much as I know Carolina fans are probably sick at their stomach right now, you just have to take your hats off to Rocky Top. I know that might be hard, but they made the play, and just take it easy on the guy. That was not his fault, and there's no way you can prepare against that. You're trying. His job was to block. His job was not to look for the football. So try to put yourself in those shoes. Anyways, honestly, just heartbreaking situation, And now we move on to the other Columbia in the SEC, where the Alabama Crimson Tide pretty much handled business against Missouri. Pretty much just dominating the first half. Mac Jones and Jalen Waddle would hook up 3 times for Alabama to build a 35-6 halftime lead. Pretty much would cruise to a 38-19 win. Missouri would get a couple late fourth quarter touchdowns to make the score look closer than it was. But in all sense, Alabama, once they had the lead, they took Mac Jones out and really took the pedal off the metal in the second half. If Alabama had wanted to, they easily could have had more. But to be fair, Missouri squandered a few attempts in the second half where they possibly could have had more points, and it could have been a tighter game possibly. But either way, Alabama gets the win, 38-19, and now moves on, and they will play Texas A&M in their home opener next week. And now down to Miami and what used to be one of the best matchups in college football, which has sadly failed to just a mediocre game. Miami destroyed Florida State 52-10. Uh, Derek King was 29-40, 267 yards passing. He had 67 yards rushing and 2 passing touchdowns. The Miami Hurricanes would outgain Florida State 517 yards to 277. And Miami just dominated Florida State. Um, it's just disheartening to see, this Seminole team. And I've never been a big Florida State fan, but I've always respected the program. And you seen back in 2017, uh, them Alabama opening up the Mercedes Dome in Atlanta, 1 versus 3. Just how far this program has fallen from that moment. It's hard to see. Um, College football is better when Florida State is a premier program, just like it's better when Miami is. Um, so just hopefully they can get things fixed down there in Miami. In Tallahassee. I don't know if panicking and firing Mike Norvell. They need to give him a shot. Maybe get his players in there. I hate to blame it all on Willie Taggart, but something's something's rotten in Tallahassee, to put it mildly. And maybe all you need's time to heal. But something needs to be done because that is too proud of a university and an athletics department to be getting beat by 42 points by anybody, but especially one of your top rivals. And now on to the Big 12, where it looked like Oklahoma was going to cruise to another win, get revenge over Kansas State for last year's upset loss. When Kansas State would storm back from a 3 touchdown deficit to tie it at 35, and then Kansas State would kick the game-winning field goal with about a minute 53 left in the game. Either way, Kansas State goes on the road in Norman after getting upset a couple weeks ago. And beating the top 5 Sooners on the road in Norman, and just sending shockwaves throughout the Big 12, as it's already been a rough early season for the Big 12, as they've already, of course, Kansas State getting upset. Then you had Iowa State being upset by Louisiana. And now this, just not good, especially with the Big Ten coming back, and with the Pac-12 now coming back. If you're trying to get a team into the playoffs, you don't want to have all of your top 10 teams knocked out before November. So, mayhem in the Big 12, especially when everybody thought this could be one of Oklahoma's best teams they've had in a while. Even though they didn't have a Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts, they thought the Spencer Rattler kid was supposed to be really good. He's a Lincoln Riley recruit, and just shocked. I know I couldn't believe it, and stunned, to put it mildly. So Kansas State goes on the road and shocks the Sooners 38-35. All right, and heading down to Lubbock, Tom Herman and the Texas Longhorns end up being the Big 12's sanity saviors, as it looked for a while it was just going to be all-out chaos for the Big 12 after Oklahoma fell to Kansas State and Texas would go down by 15 late in the fourth quarter. Um, but Texas would not fall. Um, they would score, cut it to 8, get the onside kick, drive down, score, get the 2-point conversion, get it to overtime, and either way, Longhorns and Sam Ellinger would get the win along with head coach Tom Herman, and the Longhorns would get the win 63-56 in overtime over the Red Raiders. Um, and I don't really know who to feel worse for, either Oklahoma fans or Texas Tech fans. I know the Big 12 conference in Dallas, I know they're actually praising Austin, Texas right now and the Longhorns. But in Lubbock, you have a 15-point lead that late in the game, and just to have it ripped away from you, which I guess they kind of enjoyed watching the Cowboys do the Falcons that week, last week in pro football. So turnabout's fair play, but still, that had to be gut wrenching to go through. But Sam Ellinger in Texas surviving, and they are the last great hope of the Big 12 as far as a undefeated college football playoff participant. Which it should be said also that Oklahoma, every year they have made the CFP, they have made it with one loss. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because you lose once that it's over, and especially in a year like this year. I don't know that anything could eliminate, because we have no idea if there even will be a CFP. We are hoping and praying, but with the way, especially if you try to leave things up to the Big 12 and the Pac 12, they'll cancel it and then bring it back 2 months later. So who knows? But now to the upset of the day in Baton Rouge, where the defending national champions sadly opened up Joe Burrowless. And Mississippi State opened up with something new with Costello and a Leach. And wow. I knew it would be different with Mike Leach leaving the West Coast and coming to the Southeastern Conference. I did not know him bringing a Stanford quarterback named KJ Costello with him would be quite a quite a big deal. But lighting up the LSU defense, and to be fair, LSU lost a crap ton off that national championship team from last year. And then they've had a lot of players opt out due to the beer flu. So it's not like you're actually getting the defending national champs. You're getting somewhat of a milder version of them. But still, anytime Mississippi State goes into Baton Rouge and beats an LSU team by 10 points, it's an eye opener. Whether LSU is a defending national champion or not, that's not supposed to happen. Mississippi State pull an upset, yes. Win by 10 points, no. Although, to be fair, and a few people have brought this up, it's not like it was normal Death Valley, to be fair to LSU. You didn't have the full raucous crowd that you would normally have. So I don't know if it really should count like a normal win in Death Valley would, because you didn't have the you just didn't have the atmosphere that you would normally have at an LSU home game due to the beer flu limitations on it. So I don't know. I mean, try telling a Bulldog fan that. And frankly, if me as a Bama fan, I would say, well, whatever, a win's a win. You're not taking it from me. So I understand exactly where um, Mississippi State fans are coming from, and they should enjoy that. It's a huge win for them, and it's a great win for Mike Leach, and it's definitely a an announcement to the SEC that he's here and he's serious. So you know, I don't really. I went back and forth on whether that or the Kansas State was the uh, biggest hoorah. But speaking, Kansas State upset Oklahoma last year, and Mike Leach only makes one debut in the SEC. So give it to the wild man. And the comment he made. Well, we had to play LSU because the Green Bay Packers, the New England Patriots, and some other pro team were already scheduled. I just thought, well, that suits Mike Leach perfectly. But that'll wrap up our coverage of Week 4 college football. I'm Chase Dargill. This is Just My Opinion Sports. Please hit the like button or subscribe to support the channel. We sure do appreciate it. And God bless you. God bless this country. You take care. Peace. That button.
Sorry to tease you like that. We are going to step back in for a little bit of extra programming today. Um, I'm going to start doing this on every college football review, as we're going to have our top three playmakers of the weekend, and we're going to do our top three teams and top three worst performers or worst teams of the weekend, and then give our top five going into next week. So our number three performer of the week goes to Sam Ellinger from Texas, as dude was phenomenal in keeping Texas undefeated and keeping the Big 12's hope for an undefeated playoff contender alive. He was 27 of 40, 262 yards, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 pick, as he kept the Longhorns in the game as they won 63-56 in overtime. Sam Ellinger was huge, as him and Tom Herman kept the Longhorns undefeated and a step closer towards the top 5. Our number 2 performer, KJ Costello, the transfer from Stanford. He was Stanford's starting quarterback in 2017 and 2018 before injuries ultimately led to his transfer. Rumors actually had it he was going to transfer to Georgia, but after Mike Leach was hired by Mississippi State, he went to Mississippi State. Obviously, it seems everything's working out so far in this early SEC football season, as they went to Baton Rouge, and Costello set a SEC record, 623 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks, but when you go on the road to Baton Rouge and still a win against the defending national champs, 44-34, even in a limited capacity crowd, you go on the road in Death Valley, still a win, and set SEC records. That's no small feat. But the number 1 performer, Kyle Trask, and I slipped up and said 7 touchdowns. He threw 6. I think he tied Danny Warfel's record. I know Warfel might have only had 5. I could have swore Warfel had 6 in a game, but they say it's a record in Florida. So if they say it, Kyle Trask breaking Danny Warfel's record of 5 touchdowns, as he had 6 passing touchdowns And anytime you break a legend like Danny Warfel's record at Florida, and you surpass Warfel or Tebow, I mean, you deserve to be the number one player in college football that week. So Kyle Trask, he was 30 of 42, 416 yards, and 6 touchdowns as the Gators open up at the Swamp, and they get a 51-35 win over the Ole Miss Rebels. And speaking of the Gators, they move into the top 5 as I've got Clemson number 1, Alabama number 2, Florida number 3, Notre Dame number 4, and even though they have not played a game yet, I can't take Ohio State out of the top 5. Before the Big Ten canceled the season, I actually had Ohio State as the preseason number 1, and even though they haven't played a game, they are the most talented team in the country, I feel like, on paper. At least, to me, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, to me, are the 3 number ones. They're the 3A teams in the country. And until somebody proves me wrong, now if Alabama, they wouldn't be up there if they hadn't played a game yet. And Clemson, hats off to them, they've actually played 2 games already. So I just still, I cannot drop Ohio State out of the top 5. I really didn't even like dropping them past number 3. But Florida did look real good, and Notre Dame has looked good as well. But to be honest, if Ohio State played tomorrow and looked good, they would be right back at number 3. So I'm kind of dancing myself in circles. But the best teams, best looking teams, most impressive teams from week 4, Florida Gators, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and the Cincinnati Bearcats. I thought they, after Army jumped out on them 7-0, they shut down the 22nd ranked Black Knights from Army, or the Golden Knights from Army, whichever week it is. And I thought Cincinnati looked great. Dennis Ritter, Luke Fickle's got those guys playing well. Ritter looks good at quarterback. So Army really could be, Cincinnati really could be setting themselves up for an undefeated AAC championship season. Maybe could backdoor their way into a playoff berth, especially with the way Memphis has had their games canceled, or if they knock off an undefeated Memphis team. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Then my most disappointing teams, Oklahoma losing to Kansas State like that, Florida State getting drilled by Miami by 42 points, and then LSU, the defending national champions, losing at home to a SEC rival like that. You're the defending national champs. You should at least, win a couple games before faltering. But anyways, that'll get us wrapped up officially this time. And we've got a few extra videos coming up, as we'll have the scourge of sports, the NBA Finals, coming up shortly. We've got the Lakers in, and either the Heat or Celtics should be finishing up in the next day or two. And Major League Baseball will be getting the wild card series underway, and the MLB postseason. We'll have something with the predictions on that, and I'll have the pro football week 3 of the NFL coming out tomorrow or Tuesday. So y'all have a good one, and we're officially done this time for week 4 in college football. We'll see y'all later. Take care. Peace.